MVP frontrunner Giannis and the Bucks on Friday. The King handed Kawhi and the Clippers a loss with a 28.7 rebound, 9 assist performance. His teammate Anthony Davis gave his take on LeBron's MVP status. Listen up.
What did the kind of weekend that LeBron had this weekend, the way he played against Giannis, and then what he did for you guys tonight? What kind of message does that send?
MVP. Good. MVP. I mean, what he's been able to do, taking on matchups defensively, you know, leading the pack offensively, making the right plays. You don't see that from a guy who's 17 years in the league, and his team is number one in the West. So
He's on his last
he's continuing to show the world why he's the best.
Max, what chance do you give LeBron of catching Giannis in that?
Not a great one, although he made up a little ground this weekend. You beat Giannis and then you beat Kawhi. Giannis is going to win regular season MVP. By the end of the playoffs, we'll know who the real MVP is. Whether or not the Lakers win the whole thing. They don't have to win the whole thing, but we'll know is it LeBron. And this year, actually, maybe you do. LeBron, Giannis, or Kawhi. One of those three guys probably going to win the whole thing, and in the end, you'll be able to see who the real MVP is.
I asked Stephen A. this question on Get Up. I said, because Kendrick Perkins brought it up, and it was a valid point. So we don't hold the same energy for Giannis that we used to hold for LeBron when LeBron was in the East. Because when LeBron was in the East, all I heard people chirp about was that he's in the East. Look how easy it is for them to run through the East. But now that Giannis is running through the East, and everybody says that the West is way more challenging of a conference than the East, now we're just saying, hey, Giannis, because his numbers are better, he's going to be MVP. It's just a question. I'm just playing devil's advocate to a degree.
Let me put all of this noise about LeBron James to rest. Put the camera on me, please.
Uh-oh, single shot.
As a basketball nation, we are religiously unfair to LeBron James. Myself included.
Preach.
Myself included. This dude is on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, one of the top 3 players in the history of basketball. He deserves our credit, and we will miss him when he is gone. But we need to understand why we're so unfair to him. Because we're measuring him against nothing else other than Mount Rushmore status. That's what LeBron James and his camp do not get. We are not even talking about him in the modern era. We're talking about Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Bill Russells of the world. We are talking about the Mount Rushmore of basketball. And the reason why we come across as so unfair is because not just what we saw from them, but what was demanded of them before they went away into the twilight and we were able to just sit back and soak up the greatness that they blessed us with for so many years. We held them to a certain standard, and those individuals, even though they never publicly admit it, are the ones that reach out to people like me, you, and others and say, quote, don't lighten up the standard. Make sure you hold them to the same thing you put us through. That is why it comes across as unfair, because old school folks that Joe Public don't pay attention to, that are there, constantly remind people like me, Stephen A., they held us to this standard.
No, there's never going to be another LeBron in terms of the longevity and the height he attained and the way he maintained it. But I'll say this. He got 4 MVPs. He should have at least 8, right?
I agree.
Jordan probably should have had 10. But the point about LeBron is this. It's not that he stopped getting MVPs because of the East-West thing. It was mainly because people got sick and tired of giving the same guy MVP all the time. And guys like KD started putting up better regular season numbers. We're not sick of giving Giannis the MVP, and he has the best numbers in the regular season. Don't make it an East-West thing. We're not holding Giannis to a different standard than LeBron. When LeBron was putting up the best numbers every year, he was usually winning MVP.
I mean, James Harden won it the year I think LeBron should have won it, but that's a different conversation.
That's a number.
Can I say, you talk about standard of excellence, right? What is your standard of excellence, Stephen A.? Real quick. What's your standard? When you see a player, he's excellent. What do you need to have in order to be excellent in your mind?
A model of consistent greatness.
Okay, is that consistent greatness with the skill set to do everything? Does Giannis have that skill set? of a great player?
I don't think
or is he just dominant?
You know
Is he
who
just
else?
dominant? That's what I'm saying. That's a legitimate
who else
topic.
is a
though.
model of
Take you to Los Angeles, where yesterday Lakers, Clippers, and if there was one thing we learned with certainty, this was technically a Clippers home game. If these teams meet in the playoffs, it will be 7 Laker home games. Put that in the bank. Meanwhile, here's another thing. Kawhi versus LeBron. Give me that 7 times in a row.
And I love the fact that LeBron James took it upon himself to attack Kawhi, try to get him in foul trouble, try to use that upper body frame to really punish a smaller player.
Doris Burke, look at Kawhi getting right back.
Don't take a sneak peek, LeBron, because it's going to be dunked on your head. He's calling out coverages, the spin off and finish by Kawhi.
And the Clippers had a 4-point halftime lead. This was a game that had playoff finals intensity. There's Kawhi. He goes up high. Clippers down by 1. Kawhi would finish with 27. Now, fourth quarter, Lakers up 4. LeBron didn't take a shot in the third. He changes that here.
And I love that they got the matchup they wanted. LeBron James having the confidence to knock down shots like that. If you have Montrezl Harrell, you have Lou Will, he will take advantage of that matchup.
How about on Kawhi Leonard? Takes advantage there of the whole team, Doris.
This guy in pick and roll action was absolutely unstoppable in the fourth quarter. They went to it 8 times. They scored 6.
Lakers by 10 after he makes the free throw. Then LeBron goes to the bench, but they got good minutes, even if it was a brief spell while LeBron was sitting down.
Oh, they got great minutes. I mean, Anthony Davis only had 30 points in the ball game. He's a top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah, look at this here on the nice dish from LeBron. Flushes it the reverse. Davis had 30, as you mentioned, and then less than a minute left. Lakers will be up by 9, and Doris, it's LeBron James putting it to bed.
Yeah, on that play, he overpowers Lou Will, who he played off the floor, and he goes to his best target. And this guy just physically, I don't think they have a great matchup for him.
They run a lot of people at him, but no one seemed to have any answers. LeBron would finish with 28 points, 7 boards, 9 assists. He was spectacular yesterday, capping off a huge weekend. And to cap it off, his teammate Kyle Kuzma said, you know what? Crown this man. They were chanting MVP for him. And again, what was theoretically a road game, and the Lakers get a huge win. So I don't want to overstate the significance of this weekend. They play Milwaukee, best team in the league. They beat them. They play the Clippers, who we all thought when they're all healthy and together are the best team in the league. They beat them. So what do we say of LeBron's Lakers this morning, Doris?
Well, I had said all season, Mike, that I thought the Clippers had the higher ceiling on both ends of the floor. But I think what we saw from LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and maybe as importantly, Jay Will, Avery Bradley's ability to make shots because they were teed up beautifully. Kyle Kuzma now going from a guy who believed being a scorer was the most important thing to now believing being a winning player, contributing on the backboards, defending, doing those things, contributing in support of the 2 of the 5 best players in the league was absolutely significant.
I still have the Clippers as the favorite out of the West just because I think they still have a scoring punch. And I do believe that I don't think there was the same sense of urgency from the Clippers that you have from the Lakers, considering they had already won 2 games. And I would have to think that Doc Rivers, Ty Lue, Sam Cassell and company, that they would be able to strategize on what the right scheme is because LeBron James had to do so much in this ball game. You know, if you take the ball out of his hands, who else is really making plays for them? Maybe try to blitz him more. There's definitely no way they showed their entire hand in this one ball game, Doris.
Well, how about LeBron James this weekend? 37 points, 8 boards, 7 rebounds against Giannis and the Bucks. 28, 7, and 9 against the Clippers and was absolutely dominant. He is the only guy in the league that manipulates the game at the end better than anybody else can because of the plethora of offensive weapons he can go to.
We will continue to talk about the LeBron versus Giannis MVP conversation, but I want to bring up Anthony Davis here because you mentioned how much LeBron has to do for these Lakers, but when he was off the court, AD stepped up in a big way.
There's going to be only about 3 or 4 minutes in a playoff scenario where LeBron James is going to be off the floor. Anthony Davis has got to dominate those minutes, and he did, and I think the group understands that, Jay Will.
Doris, can I ask you a question? What conference is the best conference in the NBA?
As Zach Lowe likes to say, the West is the varsity conference.
The West is the varsity conference. To watch LeBron James at 35 lead this team in the varsity conference, if that's how we're referring to it, as Zach Lowe would say, to lead the league in assists, to carry the load like he's carried so much. And I know Giannis has had an historic year. I actually came into last weekend saying I thought Giannis was the MVP.
Yeah.
I think LeBron has a slight advantage. And I will say, if the narrative was used against LeBron a couple of years ago that he's in the Eastern Conference, it's not as strong as the Western Conference, I still think we need to keep that same narrative with Giannis this year.
So a week ago Sunday, I said the narrative was that there was this insurmountable gap between Giannis and LeBron. And I said, that is incorrect. If that's what you think, you haven't been paying attention to the league. Like, Giannis is doing things. He may set an efficiency record. He may win the Defensive Player of the Year. So in no way am I suggesting that I would not vote for Giannis if I had to do it today. I don't have to put pen to paper. And why would we crown somebody with 30 games to go? Lakers have 20 left. Giannis has 18. Let's let it play out.
Can I also point out one other thing? You talk about the Clippers may not have had the urge